You're not going to see this anywhere else today. I got my hands on the mystery documents filed by Bob Saget's widow and children in a courtroom in Orlando, Florida. What is it that they're trying to hide from the media? And why do they want to keep this out of the media's hands? They explain it all in these court documents, and we're going to read through them in just a moment. We're also going to go into Bob Saget's hotel room. What could have done the damage that was done to the back of his head? Some doctors say it was like being hit with a baseball bat or falling from a story or two above the ground directly onto your head. We'll look in and see what went down. But first, lots of headlines like this today. Bob Saget's family doesn't want autopsy photos released. What would people be able to see? Do you think these photos should be released or not released? Tell me why in the comments below, because the family is incredibly worried that this video and these photos and other information will leak out. There's already conspiracy theories out there, like this one. Unusual findings in Bob Saget's autopsy prompt unfounded conspiracy theories. He was murdered. Now, of course, there's no real evidence of that, but that's not stopped anybody from theorizing. Who really wants this autopsy stuff? Who's trying to get it? It's not going to shock you to learn that it's media outlets. They're just grimy enough to try to get their hands on the video or the photos of a dead Bob Saget against the will of his family, even. The lawsuit was actually filed against a sheriff named John Mina and against the District 9 Medical Examiner's Office. They both were involved in investigations into Bob Saget's cause and manner of death. Now, let's go into the hotel room. This is what Bob Saget's hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando looked like. Now, do you see anything in this photograph that could have done the damage to the back of his head that a baseball bat swing would? Now, there's suggestions that this headboard was the cause of the death. In fact, TMZ is reporting, before we get into these court docs, that they say it's most likely Bob struck a portion of the bed's headboard that's not padded. When we look at the bed, you can see this wood here is exposed, though there are a lot of pillows on the bed, at least in this photograph. Bob Saget may have thrown those to the ground. They say their best guess is that he hit his head. Since he was under the covers, they believe he quickly lost consciousness. What's interesting, although authorities on the scene felt the headboard scenario was the most likely, the medical examiner didn't even mention it in his report, and we'll get to that too. So what was it? Do you see anything in this photo that you think could have done the damage that a baseball bat swing to the back of the head would have done to Bob Saget? There were significant injuries all around his head. For God's sake, he had two black eyes. The orbits around his eyes were broken in multiple places. He had contusions on his forehead, a subdural hematoma, a hemorrhage, another hemorrhage, and a linear fracture at the base of the skull where this damage took place. This was a hard hit. Again, was it something in this photo? Or perhaps he was in the shower or bath just before this? Well, when we look at the actual report here, the autopsy report, it says, as you can tell, blunt head trauma, abrasions of the posterior scalp. They talk about the hemorrhages and the contusions and everything else that was mentioned. They also say that his heart was okay. That wasn't the cause of the death. He was COVID-19 positive, and there were no evidence of acute or chronic inflammation by microscopy. So, in consideration of the circumstances surrounding the death, they believe that the death of Robert Saget, a 65-year-old white male found unresponsive, was the result of blunt head trauma. It is most probable, they say, most probable that the decedent suffered an unwitnessed fall backwards and struck the posterior aspect of his head. On to the court documents. Here they are. This is from the family. They filed these court documents that I got my hands on in a court in Orlando. It says general allegations. On January 9th, 2022, Mr. Saget, a globally known comedian and television personality, passed away at the Ritz-Carlton. We know that. Shortly after his death, there was an investigation by the Orange County Sheriff's Office and the District 9 Medical Examiner's Office. In the process of these investigations, defendants created records which include photographs, video recordings, audio recordings, statutorily protected autopsy information, and all other statutorily protected information. They refer to it as records here on out. Do you think that information should be revealed? Do we need to know that for any reason? Or is it the family's right to privacy? Upon information and belief, some of those records graphically depict Mr. Saget, his likeness or features or parts of him and were made by defendants during defendants' investigation. Upon information and belief, certain news and media outlets have filed or plan to file public records requests. It's directly from the court documents pursuant to the Sunshine Laws and other public records acts in the state of Florida. So the family says this is going to be very, very bad for us and tough emotionally if this is released. There are photos and videos, likenesses or features, parts of him, all this stuff that you're hearing. The family doesn't want that out there. Can you blame them? So they went into court, and the court minutes suggest that everybody was in appearance, from Kelly Rizzo, which she is the widow of Bob Saget, to Aubrey Saget, Jennifer Saget, Laura Saget, and some other interested parties. Sherry Saget and Kelly Saget were in appearance as well. And the judge ruled for the Saget family. They granted this emergency motion for a temporary injunction. So as of right now, nobody can release these autopsy photos or videos or anything else about the body parts and other things about the features of Bob Saget. Do you think that's the right answer here? Or do you think something else was to blame for all of this? Let me know what your thoughts are and where you think this should go from here. Because there are already many, many conspiracies about exactly what happened with the death of Bob Saget. We know it happened in a room just like this, but more than that, well, it's a little hard to determine. Let me know what you think. If you're new around here, facebook.com/the news junkie, hit that follow button. youtube.com/the news junkie, hit subscribe. On both of them, you can support the show right below this post and these videos every single day. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you in the comments, and we'll talk to you again real soon.